my career then went up to Scottsfield, Illinois, where I was in charge of the dental clinic as far as the non-commissioned officers go. So then I got out of there, out of the service on October 4th, October 5th, 1946, and went home. Well, by that time, or sure, no, your Aunt Dorothy says, Ed, I got somebody you should get to, take out. And Mary Pleier. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, anyway, there it goes. And away we went. Excuse me. Anyway, on September 4th, 1948, we got married. And then on March 17th, 1950, here comes Joe. Good. Well, in the meantime, I had gone to university. Well, when I came back from service, I started on the extension at University of Wisconsin extension in Wausau. I spent 1 year there while courting your mother, and vice versa. And then the following semester, which would be 1947, I went down and roomed in with George Stevens, who was the son of Dr. Stevens, good friend of your grandpa's, from Wausau. Anyway, went through a rooming house, and then eventually into the dorms at Madison. Then when we got married in 48, I had 1 semester to go. Oh, I'm sorry, a semester and a half. 48, 49, yeah. We moved in to 2 bedrooms on the south side of Madison, owned by Ed and I forget his wife, O'Dare, the last name. And they had been the same couple that had split up there, in the Depression in the 1930s, made arrangements for Aunt Helen and Uncle Ted to live with them in the same type of arrangement. So here we are, 10 years later, more than that, about 12, 13 years later. In the meantime, Ted had become an attorney in Madison, and Helen had been a teacher on Regency School, for a couple of years at that point. And they both, that's how they wound up. Making money hand over fist. Anyway, we lived in that accommodation until January 1950, when I graduated. I then got a job with Thorpe Finance, and for the period of graduation until Joe was born, March 17th, we stayed in Madison, and I worked for Thorpe Finance there in Madison until Joe was born. With that, which is the latter part of March, they said, okay, now you can come to work out in the state here. There's 70 counties, and I think they had like 35 offices scattered around the state, basically all of the state of Wisconsin. So I got sent up to Rice Lake, basic training for a finance company. Anyway, we're just kind of go over that. From Rice Lake, I got shipped down to Wisconsin Rapids. Every time I moved, here we added another little family member. Tom was born on April 14th, I think it was, April 14th, in 1952. Yeah, 2 years behind Joe. Well, I stayed down there till 1953, and then we moved up to Wausau. Here comes Kathy in May of 1956. And then we got shipped up to Antigo. Ran the office in Antigo. The first location I had as an office manager, which is another story. I'm running the office up at Antigo, and one day I look up, excuse me, excuse me.
Do you want to drink that, or do you want water?
Yeah, no, yeah, a little.
Or the Kleenex, there we go.
Anyway, the door opens in the Thorpe office that I had up there. We had 2 secretaries and 1 collector, assistant office manager besides myself. And from my desk, I could see out to the front door. And in walks this guy. Hey, it looks familiar. He comes in and shakes my hand. I'm William Proxmire. Oh, yes. Knew about you, etc., etc. And about that time, Joe McCarthy was, who was from Oshkosh, I think, or Appleton area. He was really pouring it on to these communists in the United States, and they were going to take over our government. And I said, Proxmire, I told him to sit down. I get some water, give him a glass of water. That's fine, And we're talking generalities. And then I make the mistake of asking him what he thought about McCarthy. Well, those are the things which happen. And I'm glad to meet you, and off he went. Ideal politician, no problem. He was running for the first time. At that point, I think it was July 57, as it was an off election, and the guy who had been governor, Kohler, was running against him, and didn't feel that Kohler didn't feel that there was going to be any problem. He figured he was through in. So he and his wife and family took a vacation in Europe in that summer, and the election was in September. Got back, Proxmire creamed him, and Proxmire stayed there up until Herb Cole or Feingold took over his spot. And how Proxmire handled himself and what he did. Too bad we don't have more of those around right now. Anyway, that was Antigo.
So
now I'm
gonna ask about Proxmire. Had he had office before? How did you know of him when he came into the office?
Well, his picture had been in the papers and advertising. He was doing a little advertising, and I think he wasn't on TV or anything, but I think we may have had radio interviews with him. So I was familiar with what he looked like.